Well, hello friends, and welcome to another episode of The Kingdom Within. I'm out here at the park this evening, and I come out here at the last second. Felt like I was supposed to come out here and do this, and I tell you what, with everything going on, I've still got all this stuff going on, and it's easy to be at peace when everything in your life is going right, but it's not real easy to be at peace, to just have this faith and turn everything over when things aren't all going right. But that's when it's the most important, and so I'm just learning that I just have to keep doing what I need to do, even though there's nothing I really need to do. Except have faith in God's going to get me through this, and I'm just going to get everything done that I need to do and not get hung up on all the bureaucracy of the world. See, I gave up watching the news a long time ago because, I just got to the point where I was seeing all of what was going on in the world, and it was overwhelming my mind with the negativity, because it's always negative stuff. So what I've learned is that, what I need to know, people kind of tell me when there's something major going on, and I don't know why it is I'm discussing that, but I guess it's important because part of this Holy Spirit is following your own truth. And, the rest of the world thinks that, you got to keep up with everything and be on top of every little nitty-gritty. And what I've learned is that the Holy Spirit didn't send me here to save the world. He sent me here to save myself. And the only way to save myself is, of course, to help save another. And even though I'm not saving you or me from anything, because the truth of the matter is I don't have to save myself from my Father. That's the truth. But I do need to save myself from myself, which is my selfishness. Because I'll tell you, that selfishness is what gets us. And when I get worried about things, it's always because I'm afraid that I'm going to lose something. And that's where I'm at because of everything that's going on. And I've talked in the last couple episodes about the flood and the losses and things. I just went and picked up a really inexpensive weed eater so that I can do my yard, and I think I'll just weed eat the whole thing because it's not that big for the moment, because I really don't want to buy a mower because I'm going to be moving here eventually, and this might be the last mowing season. I've only got a couple months of it left. I might as well do a little more work, and it doesn't matter if it's perfectly level or not like it would be with a mower. I'll just have to survive it. What I know is that I just love my Father more than anything, and this peace He's given me is more important than worrying about all these things. But it's still my nature to worry, because that's what happens. We're always thinking about what it is that we're going to need or what we're going to lose, and I'm just not worried about it so much anymore, friends. I'm trying not to be worried about it. Today's been one of those days that I'm working on not being that way. I have a lot going on at work. I have a couple different trainings to meet for. Now, we've been doing the groups online, but now I've got a couple presentations that are going to go online between IPS and the Hearing Voices Network. And so I've got to prepare for these, and I've got to be, I'm always concerned about doing something for the first time. One thing I know is that even if I get it wrong, it'll still end up right. They taught me something one time. One of the facilitators that trained me, I don't remember who it was now, but they told me something that made sense, and that is that, when you're doing a training, the truth of the matter is nobody in the audience knows what it is you're supposed to be presenting. So if you present something and you trip up or something, nobody in the audience knows. That's the beautiful thing about it, friend. So you don't have to worry about that. And the Holy Spirit showed me that perfection is not required, that all I'm supposed to be doing is the best I can with what I have. And the presentations I do because they help people, and people want help. And they want to help other people. And so me doing trainings on how to help yourself and how to help other people are important. And therefore I feel as though I'm doing God's work by doing it. And that's all I can do, is I can only try to do whatever it is I feel led to do, that I feel as though is what I'm supposed to do. And this Holy Spirit keeps leading me the right direction and gives me just what I need in order to keep going, even though sometimes it's a struggle, because I'll tell you, Sometimes it's hard believing that I have this thought in my head that I talk to myself, because that's kind of what I do. I talk to myself, except for, well, this voice talks to me, and it allows me to have forgiveness. It keeps reminding me to forgive you and forgive myself, and that judgment is going to cause suffering, and if I decide that I have to judge someone else as right or wrong, then I'm going to have to pay the price for it. And while I'm going through this flood and the damage and the loss and all of that, well, there's all this pointing finger, right or wrong, but the truth of the matter is nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just what happens. That's called being in the world. I just don't want to be of it. Of it means that I get upset about it and I don't do the right thing. And sometimes it's a struggle for me because, well, I might not be judging people and I forgive everyone, but I still have to stand my ground when things aren't right. And that's where I'm at. I've got a situation going on, and well, with my landlord, and I don't know what I can trust now. So I'm just having to accept that sometimes you just don't know the right thing to do. So I'm just following this Holy Spirit and doing what I feel as though I'm right. And I'm not angry at him for what he's done because, well, the truth of the matter is he didn't do anything. But sometimes it's because he didn't do anything. And so I'm not sure what to do with things sometimes. I just follow my gut feeling and this Holy Spirit and this voice that I have. And I'll tell you, it's not always clear, because I'm going to tell you again, I talk about it sometimes, about how this Holy Spirit voice works. And this Holy Spirit voice doesn't tell me the right thing to do, even though it does. But it tells me, but I know because it also matches my gut. And I read a lot of Jesus every day, almost every day. I try to every day. I just read what's in red in that Bible. I have a Bible with what Jesus said in red. That way I know what Jesus said, because I'll tell you, that's how I get to know this voice, because Jesus said, if you get to know me and you do what I ask, then you'll receive the Holy Spirit. And if you know him, you'll know the Spirit. And that's how I know the Spirit. And that's how I know that I'm listening to the right voice, because, you know, that selfishness is that thought of Satan. So if I'm acting out of selfishness instead of what's right, even though there is nothing right except for what's wrong, because I've told you it's hard to explain these things. But when we make ourselves right, we think we're righteous, and I'm not righteous anymore, friend. Only my Father's right, and I do everything that I feel as though he wants me to do, but that means sometimes standing my ground when even I'm afraid to, because the consequences could be so. And that's kind of where I'm at with this financial stuff going on. I've got to figure it out, and I don't know necessarily how to. But Jesus told us to not worry about tomorrow, that today has its own challenges, and that's enough for the day. So the way I go about this is I do what it is that I know is right. And because I know it's right, well, that's what I do. And if I'm in doubt, then I come out of here into the woods for sure and really focus on this Holy Spirit and what Jesus said, and look at the intentions on why it is I'm doing what I'm doing. Because just because I'm not always right or wrong does not mean that I'm going to allow other people to make bad decisions and then make me pay the price for it. It just doesn't work that way, friend. There's self-respect along with respecting others, and I have to love me and you. And if I don't love me, I won't love you, and therefore I have to act in my own best interest, except for it has to be in an ethical way, and that's what I'm doing. I'm tomorrow going to go seek some legal advice and try to find out what I ought to do and what my decision should be, because I just want to make the right decision. And that's sometimes hard. But see, that's what I count on this Jesus for, because what he said tells us what to do. And he teaches us how to know this Holy Spirit, so that when we get to this place where we're willing to die in order to live, that when we receive the Holy Spirit in a new kind of way, we have a way about going about things. See, my life doesn't just work out perfectly all the time. It becomes, I'm now representative of Jesus. And so when I act poorly in my reactions to others or in my behaviors, well, then other people see that that's what Jesus was about, and that's not what Jesus was about. So now my life is turned. I have to be his representative, and Jesus told us that. So I know that to be true. So now that I'm doing this, I have to think differently than what I used to think when I was being in the world and of it. And I was talking about this politics earlier. See, it's not that I don't see what's going on. It's a person, I used to do mental health advocacy a lot, and like I used to make phone calls and go speak in Harrisburg and things a couple times. I've done this or that. And, well, what I've learned is, I learned a director of advocacy from over there taught me one time, because I used to want to make a change and help people, right? But the problem is the world is so overwhelming, and there's so many things that need to be changed that you get paralyzed feeling like you can't do anything. Well, what happened is, my father taught me through her, because she told me, and it made sense and it stuck with me, was that you can't change the world. What you can do is you find one thing that you're passionate about, that you feel right about serving, and then you go for that. And that is how you make a difference, because then you don't get overwhelmed. You're only dealing with one thing instead of trying to conquer the world. And that's why I gave up advocacy. That's why that's not my calling anymore. It was my calling then. The Holy Spirit led me to do that, and I believe that. At that point I didn't have the Holy Spirit, but I did have it. I just didn't have this voice. But I knew it was the right thing to do, because it was advocating for other people so that they could get what they need. So, which is important in this world, friend, that we take care of each other, and that's why I'm doing what I do, because I know that that's what my Father wants of me, and if I worry about what it is I've got for myself instead of how I can be of service to others, well, then I'm not being of service to my Father. Instead, I'm being of service to that thought of Satan or that ego, whatever you want to call it. And though that might glorify me in the world, and I might gain much from it, and everyone will go, "Lo, look, he has a lot," at the end I'm still going to have nothing, friend, because when I pass from this world, well, none of those things can go with me. Jesus told us that. He said, don't worry about the things that you can get here. Instead, worry about what you can take with you. And what you can take with you is the thought you have about yourself. I'm telling you, friend, the kingdom is here, and if we find it, we can have it. And I have it, and then I lose it. And today I lost it, even though I didn't lose it, because I wasn't doing anything wrong. But this thought of Satan is my selfishness and my fear, and it will try to get a hold of me. And I spent some time with my family last night and stayed down with my folks so that I could spend some time with them and play a game of trains, because, well, we just enjoy each other, and I love my parents. But what I know is that this isn't always an easy task. And when I'm around people and not spending as much time with the Spirit, well, it just doesn't, it allows that fear to creep in, because everybody else in the world's talking about what it is we have. And, you know, my dad would like to get into long talk sometimes about things, and I absolutely love talking to him, because he talks about spiritual things, and we'll have good conversations. But I boiled my spiritual search down to Jesus. That's it. I mean, I'm not searching everywhere else anymore. So I think sometimes when people get to looking at too many truths, they get confused on which truth is true. Just like me, I used to get that way. I'd say, well, this is true and that's true, but if that's true, then that can't be true. And what I've learned is I don't need the truth. The truth I have is the one that Jesus had, and the one he had is the one my Father has. And even though it's the absolute truth, it's still not necessarily the absolute truth, because at the end, God is. That's what the absolute truth is, and therefore every one of us are in the Father, and the Father's in us. And he wants us to love one another so that we can love him at the same time, because that's why he said about those two commandments, one being like the other. So that's what my life's got to be about now. It's not about what it is I can get. It's about what I can give, and what I can give is what he gives me. So I'm trying not to turn from him. get wrapped up in fear and selfishness. And I am out here all the time trying to keep myself from doing that, because, friend, I've lived a life of selfishness. This is an easy task when you start down the road. And I kept flipping back and forth. I'd get that Holy Spirit thought going on, and then I'd go back to the world. And then when the Holy Spirit would sweep my house clean, and then the demons, which for me are those obsessive thoughts, come back, that lead to all the behaviors that you really don't want to do, and the ones that make you feel guilty and separate from God. And the thing I don't want is to be separate from my thought of Christ, which is the thought of God. Because that is what makes my life work out now. And that is what keeps me coming back and keeps me full of happiness and joy. And each of us have a task to do, and I'm just doing the one that I feel as though is right for me, because, well, if you read Jesus, you'll know whether your task that you're doing is the one that you should be doing. Because that's what the Holy Spirit has taught me, is that Jesus said it all. I looked at Jesus before, but I didn't get everything he was saying, and I pretty much get it yet. I don't get it the way everybody else does. The funny thing is, I was just listening to somebody talking about a sermon, and they said things that I didn't necessarily get out of that message, but you know what? It was still good stuff. And that was the Holy Spirit speaking to me through them. And so what that allows me to do is, it allows me to keep looking at Jesus in a new light. But what he kept saying was that Jesus was love and kindness, and that's exactly what I saw. And because he said that if you know me, you know my Father, then my Father's love and kindness. Except his love's even greater. And that's where, you get all this controversy on all of these things, and people talking about Jesus coming back with a sword in his mouth. Now, I'm not telling you the Revelations isn't true, because I do believe it is. And I believe that my Father's going to clean up the mess we've made and start again, because he is going to get his own kingdom. He told you that. He told you that the end of the age, that it was going to turn. And, well, friend, I know that that you don't buy into the star thing in the end of the age, and then you've got the Jesus talking about at the end of the age. But Jesus said at the end of the age, friend, and this is the end of the age. Because we're transitioning ages when you have that out. I am pretty sure that God has made this all work out so that it's going to work out that way. But I'm not here to tell you I'm right, because I'm wrong. Because he doesn't tell me anything, yet he tells me everything I need to. And what I need to know is that if tomorrow everything changes, I've been the person I'm supposed to be now, and I'm doing what he asks, and that's talking on this camera, even though I don't know whether, I can't prove that he tells me to do it. I just know I'm supposed to, and this voice tells me to do it, and my gut lines up with it. They line up together on it. And so I know that it's right for me to do this, even though it's probably going to go nowhere. It doesn't matter. Maybe it might change one person's life, friend. I'm not here to save a bunch of people. I'm here to save myself and save everybody I can in the way that I can, and that's through love, not through fear and not through all of that other stuff, because fear doesn't save people. Love does. Because Jesus told us, and he didn't outright say it, but he told you the purpose of the world was to come to know love by experience, and that's what makes sense to me, and it's what my Father showed me through this Holy Spirit. So that's what I do. I just keep loving and forgiving and keep coming so that I can get what it is my Father has for me, and I can just enjoy what it is that, well, the time that I have in this world. And even though sometimes I get a little afraid, I just keep turning to my Father, see, and then he pushes that fear back into the peripheral. Doesn't matter whether I have it or not. Jesus still had that fear. Remember when he was in that talking to Peter, and he was telling the apostles that he was going to have to be delivered up to the Gentiles to be crucified. And, well, what he said to Peter, went and said to him, he said, "Lord, Lord, you can't do that." And Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan." Well, what he was telling you is that if you gather with others in the name of fear, then fear's going to grow. So if you sit around and talk about fearful things with folks, the fear's going to grow in you. It's kind of like this death I gave him. It doesn't mean I'm going to get it, but if I talk about it, then it gets bigger on my mind. So, and if I think about it, so I don't think about it. I just know that was his way of getting all my willingness. Because if I'm willing to give him that, that means he can have all of my life, because I've already told him he can have all of my death. It's not that I'm going to ever live up to it. I have no idea. If he gives me the strength and the courage, I'll do whatever he wants me to, because I just want to do what it is the Father wants of me. And I just know that, well, this life isn't about anything except loving one another, and we've got that all messed up, and because we did, well, we just keep messing each other up, and I've just had enough of looking at that, so I don't look at it very often, friend. I spend a lot of my time trying to help those people. I'm out there in the darkness where they are, but when I'm doing it, I'm helping them. I'm not out there participating in the things I used to do, friend. I'm not participating in hurting people, and when I'm talking about hurting people, I'm not necessarily talking about intentionally hurting people. I'm talking about we're hurting people in all kinds of different ways. Every time we talk bad to someone, we hurt people. Every time we hold more for ourselves and give less to others, we hurt people. So I'm trying to do my best to not hurt people and do what the Holy Spirit asks me to do. And sometimes I'm not sure what that is. So I'm just doing the best I can with what I have. And since I am, and I keep talking to the Spirit and keep my thoughts turned toward God, and anytime my thoughts start varying the direction of where it is I don't want to go, I just make sure that I have to run off into the wilderness, whether it be a park or my back patio or my bedroom, and get back in the Spirit, because I don't want these thoughts. And what I've learned is I don't have to hide them from them. I only have to be ashamed if I'm not willing to give them to them. But see, I'm willing to give them to them now. I don't want them. I don't want those thoughts. I don't want the selfishness. I don't want the suffering. Though I still get it sometimes. But that's because when I become afraid, I get wrapped up in things. And it doesn't I'm telling you, I have to do this every day, because otherwise, but Jesus did that. Jesus showed you that by doing it himself. It was said that every morning he got up early before anyone else and went out and prayed. So what I try to do is, and I kind of sometimes screw it up. I've been doing real good at that until like a couple weeks ago I noticed not getting up and spending all that time with the Spirit first thing in the morning, and I didn't realize it because things can sneak up on you. And then after that, I started not going into the wilderness so much because I started getting afraid, I guess. And once that fear starts sneaking in, sometimes you don't realize it, and well, it played havoc in my mind and started letting me be afraid again, and kind of took away a little of my faith. And well, I've got it back, except when I don't. And I just keep coming back because I'm getting it back, and it's getting stronger again. And if I just get back to doing what it was I was doing before, don't let this fear get a hold of me, and keep in the Spirit, I'll be okay. I just don't know how to do that. My Father has to do it for me, and all I have to do is have the willingness and keep being very mindful of what it is he wants from me, and I can feel it in my gut, and I know it in my head. And when they match together, then I've got the answer. And if I do it according to what it is Jesus asked, if the answer is of the Spirit, well then, if I'm wrong, I'm still right, because I'm doing the best I can with what I have and turn in that direction. And when I do something wrong, I just know I'm wrong, and I'll admit I'm wrong. I ask him for forgiveness. And if I've done something to someone here, well then I'll ask for forgiveness from them too, because I just don't want to be suffering anymore from this guilt and pain. And well, I've still got that wreckage of the past from when I was younger, but there's just nothing to be done. You just keep moving forward now. So love is what it is, and I forgive others their debts so I can be forgiven mine. Well, friend, I don't think it's getting dark out here. It is like 8 o'clock at night, and it's not as staying late as it was, and so I imagine I ought to be getting off of here. But I wanted to stop out here because the Holy Spirit told me to, and I really needed to talk, because you know what happens is when I listen to him talk to you through me, I hear me, and then it reminds me that I'm in him and he's in me, and I need to continue down this path, because that's the truth. Because that's my truth. It doesn't have to be yours, friend. That's the beautiful thing about this life, is we get to choose any truth we want, and the one you choose is the one you have. Because if you didn't want to believe in God, my Father's given you everything that you needed in order to not believe in God. because his will is your will, until your will becomes his, and then, well, hold on, friends, because you're in for a ride. And that's where I'm at. I'm just trying to hold in and go on this ride. And whatever ends up happening out of my life is to be exactly what it is it's supposed to be. And when I get done and me and him look back at this picture called my life, well, hopefully it'll be a painting that I can appreciate with him, and he'll love what it is we created together. All right, friends. Well, I love you because he loves you, and may God bless you and yours.